Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Speak Smart podcast, and welcome to the deep dive. This is where we take the resources you've shared with us and really dig in, explore them to find the best insights, all for you. So today, we're actually heading into, well, the pharmacy. We're looking at vocabulary and phrases you might hear or need during a visit. We've got a great dialogue transcript from EnglishPod, focusing exactly on that, a pharmacy trip, and also a list that breaks down some key language points. Our mission really is to give you some practical language, stuff related to medicine, pharmacy interactions, maybe you're traveling or just brushing up on English, or maybe you're just curious.
Yeah, it's useful stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Understanding this can be super helpful. So yeah, let's dive in.
All right.
Let's maybe start with the essential vocabulary you might bump into.
Absolutely. Sounds like a plan. It's always good to break down these real world situations. Where should we start?
Okay, first up, milligrams, often just written as mg. It came up in the dialogue, 50 milligrams of Prozac. So what exactly are we talking about with milligrams here?
Right, milligrams. Well, like the source says, it's 1,000th of a gram. So it's a unit of weight, obviously.
Okay, 1,000th. That sounds tiny.
It is. And that's what's really interesting, how common this super small measurement is in medicine. It's all about dosage precision. I mean, a gram is already light, right? So imagine something 1,000 times smaller. It just shows you how exact they need to be with medications.
Wow, okay. That really puts it into perspective. So 50 milligrams, that's the specific amount of the active stuff in the pill?
Exactly. Precision is key.
Got it. Okay, next term, price check. This one popped up in that slightly memorable, maybe embarrassing bit about the condoms in the dialogue.
Yes, the fun times ribbed condoms.
Yeah. So what does price check actually mean? Seems simple, but...
It really is pretty straightforward. It's just asking someone, usually a cashier or shop assistant, to confirm the price of an item.
Right.
In the dialogue, the shopper needed to know the cost, which, well, led to that moment. Mm-hmm. But it's something we all do, right? Maybe the tag's missing, or you just want to be sure.
Totally. Happens all the time. Just maybe not always with those items right at the counter.
Yeah, quite. There's a basic shopping interaction, really.
Okay. Moving on to something more strictly medical. Prescription. The dialogue mentioned the shopper needing one. What's the deal with the prescription?
So a prescription in this context is basically a doctor's written order. Or increasingly, it's digital. It's an authorization from a qualified health professional.
In order for what?
For a specific medicine. It allows the patient to actually get that medication from the pharmacy for lots of drugs, especially the stronger ones or ones with, potential risks. You just can't buy them off the shelf.
Okay, so you need the doctor's okay first.
Exactly. It's a control measure, really, to make sure the medicine is right for that person and used correctly. A safety thing.
Makes sense. A safeguard. Okay, then the pharmacist asked about capsule or tablet for the Prozac. Two common forms. Let's start with capsule. What is that?
Right, a capsule. Think of it like a little container. It's usually cylinder shaped, maybe oval, and it's got this outer shell, often made of gelatin or something similar.
Right.
And inside that shell, that's where the medicine is, either as a powder or sometimes even a liquid.
So it's medicine inside something else.
Precisely. And that design, the shell, can sometimes affect how the drug is released in your body.
Interesting. Okay. And what about a tablet then? How's that different?
A tablet is, well, usually solid. It's made by compressing powdered medicine really tightly into a specific shape. Often round, often flat, but they come in different shapes too.
So no shell, just compressed powder.
Pretty much. And, the dialogue mentioned that some people find capsules easier to swallow.
Right, because they're smoother.
Yeah, potentially. That smooth surface might slide down easier for some folks. Mm-hmm. It just shows how even the physical form, capsule versus tablet, can matter to the patient experience. It's about making treatment manageable.
It's funny how those little details make a difference. Okay, next one is, unfortunately, overdose. The pharmacist gave a warning about it. What does overdose mean?
An overdose is, simply put, taking too much of a medicine. More than the recommended dose, more than is safe.
Okay.
And as the source material points out, this can be really serious. It can lead to severe illness, or worse, it can even be fatal.
Right. That's why the warning is there.
Absolutely. It's a standard, very important part of dispensing medicine. You have to follow the dosage instructions carefully.
Crucial stuff. Okay. The shopper also asked for eye drops. This seems pretty obvious, but let's just define it clearly.
Sir, eye drops are just liquid medicine made specifically to be put directly into the eyes.
For what kind of things?
Oh, various things. Dryness, allergies, infections, like the dialogue suggested, maybe just general irritation. It's about getting the medicine right where it's needed.
Gotcha. Targeted delivery. Now, this next point the source brought up is really interesting linguistically. It's about how we talk about medicine in English. It says we always take medicine, not eat or drink it. Why is that?
That's a great observation from the source. Yeah, in English, the standard verb is take. While you might physically swallow a pill like food or drink a liquid medicine, we use take.
But why? Is there a reason?
Well, eat and drink usually imply consumption for nutrition or thirst. Take, in the context of medicine, carries the sense of administering something for a therapeutic purpose, following instructions, using a remedy. It sort of separates it from regular food and drink.
Ah, okay, so it's like a specific verb for that action.
Exactly. It's one of those language conventions. Using take just sounds, well, more correct and natural to a native English speaker when discussing medicine.
Good to know. Thanks for sounding fluent. Okay, last vocabulary item. The difference between prescription medicine and over-the-counter medicine, or OTC.
Right. We touched on prescription meds already. Those need the doctor's note, the prescription. Over-the-counter, or OTC, drugs are the ones you don't need a prescription for. You can just, pick them up off the shelf from the pharmacy, sometimes even in supermarkets.
Like what kind of things?
Things for common, usually minor issues, like aspirin for a headache, maybe some cold remedies, antacids, that sort of thing. The source mentioned aspirin.
So easy access for simple stuff.
Pretty much. It's a system to balance access and safety. Keep the potent stuff controlled, but let people treat minor ailments easily.
Right. Although the source did mention that interesting point about the US where maybe lot seems to need a prescription, but you can still overdose on something like OTC aspirin if you're not careful.
That's a really important nuance. Just because something is OTC doesn't mean it's completely harmless or that you can ignore the instructions.
So caution is always needed.
Always. The classification is about regulation based on risk profile, strength, need for diagnosis.
Yeah.
But responsibility lies with the user for all medicines.
Got it. Okay, that covers the key vocabulary really well. Super helpful. Now let's switch gears a bit and look at some of the phrases used in that dialogue.
Sounds good. Phrases often carry a lot of subtle meaning.
Definitely. First one, be sure not to. Like an example, be sure not to take it on an empty stomach. What's this phrase really doing?
Be sure not to is basically a way of saying don't, but it's softer, more advisory, maybe friendlier than just a blunt, don't do that.
So it's like a polite warning or instruction.
Exactly. The Prozac example is perfect. It's important advice, maybe crucial, but the phrasing makes it sound like helpful guidance rather than a harsh command.
Yeah, that makes sense. The source had other good examples too, like be sure not to leave your bike outside or not to forget your umbrella. Same kind of gentle warning feel.
They illustrate it perfectly. It conveys a negative instruction clearly, but with that considerate tone.
And then there was that funny one. I told him to be sure not to do anything stupid, but he did.
Right. Shows the intent of the phrase, even if it's not always followed. It's about giving that clear but polite cautionary advice.
Okay, cool. Second phrase. Hang on a sec. The pharmacist said this when asked for the price check on the... Yeah, what's the meaning there?
Hang on a sec. It's just a really common informal way to say wait. Usually implies a very short wait.
Like just a second?
Pretty much. Sec is short for second. The pharmacist was just indicating, give me a brief moment while I look this up. It sounds casual, friendly.
And the source mentioned variations, right? Like, hang on a second, hang on a moment, hang on a minute.
Do they mean different lengths of waiting?
Well, technically, yes. A second is shorter than a moment, which is probably shorter than a minute. But honestly, in conversation, they're often used pretty interchangeably to mean wait briefly.
Sec, or second, probably feels the quickest. Moment is still very short. Minute might suggest slightly longer, but still, usually not a literal 60 seconds in that context. Just means a short pause.
So don't start timing them.
Probably not. And the source's example, hang on an hour. That's obviously a joke, right? To emphasize a long wait.
Right. You wouldn't say that seriously if you just needed a moment. So these are all just informal ways to ask someone to pause.
Exactly. Very common in spoken English.
Yeah.
Makes things feel relaxed. Knowing them helps you understand and, use them yourself in casual chats.
Great. Well, that covers the key phrases too. This has been actually really illuminating, just looking at one short dialogue.
It's amazing, isn't it? How much is packed into everyday language. It's not just the words, but the tone, the specific phrases, how they manage the interaction.
Yeah, like the pharmacist being professional, but also like helpful and using those softer phrases.
It shows the social side of language use, even in a quick transaction.
So for everyone listening, we really hope this deep dive gives you some, practical takeaways, tools you can use if you're ever in a pharmacy in an English-speaking place, or even just for understanding English better in general.
Yeah, building that confidence in different situations is key.
And it kind of leads to a final thought, maybe something for you, the listener, to mull over based on this whole conversation.
Yeah.
What about your own experiences? Have you had any common or maybe funny or even slightly awkward experiences at a pharmacy or dealing with medicine? Maybe somewhere language played a role or a particular word or phrase stuck out?
Oh, that's a great question. Thinking about those personal connections can really make the language stick, can it?
Yeah, absolutely. Connecting it back to yourself. Did a word confuse you? Did you use a phrase that got a funny look? Or maybe everything went perfectly smoothly because you knew the right terms.
Reflecting on that is a fantastic way to reinforce learning. And just noticing these details, these nuances we talked about, really does enhance how you communicate and how comfortable you feel.
Definitely. Language is everywhere, and understanding these little bits makes navigating the world just that bit easier.
Well said.
Okay, well, that pretty much wraps up our deep dive today into pharmacy vocabulary and phrases, all thanks to that EnglishPod dialogue. We hope you found it useful, maybe even a little bit entertaining.
It's been genuinely interesting exploring this. Remember, every little bit of language understanding helps build a bigger picture.
Thank you for listening to the Speak Smart podcast, and subscribe my channel, like the hit button.